Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Weekender. And my good Friday partner in crime, David Hunter, is serving a one-match suspension following Hugo Ekitike taking his shirt off last week. And in a week where West Ham have changed managers, he had to get the boss in. Hello, Suj.
Hello, how we doing? You good?
I'm good, mate. I feel like that's the first time in, I don't know, 2,500 podcasts that I've actually done the intro with
You've
you.
done the intro, and I'm sitting here. I'm a guest on your show today. It feels like, yes, indeed, the weekender. David's off on holiday or wherever he may be.
He is away. We're going to be
Good.
talking plenty of West Ham on this one, the managerial change, the Monday night game. We're going to have a roundup of the European games, which may now include a little bit of an extended chat on Nottingham Forest. And we're also going to look at some free hit and some wild card drafts ahead of game week 7. Our tactical preview this week will be Arsenal West Ham. I know many of you are going to be keen on Arsenal players, and that will kind of bleed in from the conversation on West Ham. But boss, a week, well, not even a week, is it? It feels like it's
No,
been longer than a week since Graham Potter got sacked on Saturday morning. But
yep.
what was your
Probably
reaction?
because it felt it was inevitable for quite a while that it was eventually going to
We
happen.
we kind of thought it was going to be next week, right?
Yeah, obviously, I was last Saturday morning enjoying what I do on a Saturday morning, which is your deadline stream. And anybody that hasn't listened in should, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified when James does the deadline
Just
stream.
just don't turn up for the deadline stream tomorrow because
That because it's a deadline today. I
I'll already
know,
be in
I
Leeds.
know, I know. So yeah, and then right at the end, towards the end, it popped up as a tweet from the club. Graham Potter had been relieved of duties, and obviously we didn't play till the Monday night. So you're kind of thinking, well, the timing of it just seemed really, really bizarre for a couple of reasons. They let him do the press conference the day before, which seemed ridiculously weird. We only had the two games, and that was the Monday and the Saturday before the international break. So I think most people's kind of opinion was, all right, if they've got a replacement lined up and they know that they want to move Graham Potter on, the international break is probably the perfect time to do it. Sure, you won't have the whole squad to work with for 2 weeks, but you will have at least half of it or whatever you may have. I don't know how many of our squad actually go away, probably only 6 or 7. So you will have the majority of the squad to work with. It just seems a nice, clean opportunity to do it. So it didn't, no one was really expecting the announcement that Potter would go, particularly because he had done the presser on the Friday, right? It just, it leaves a horrible taste in the mouth, to be honest with you. We've known for some time that my club is run like a circus. There's obviously the protests against the ownership that have been gathering a lot of momentum. There's a boycott on in what 2.5 Mondays time when we play Brentford at home of the game and so on planned. What's happened with Potter doesn't change anybody's opinion on the fact that the club is run by a circus. And yeah, I mean, what was it in the end? 6 wins out of 25, 5 wins out of 26 or something. 20 less than 25% win rate. You can't argue with the facts. Unfortunately, his time was up and he had to go. And yeah, the way we were conceding goals and stuff was just really bad. One of the things I struggled with Lopetegui was that we never really understood what the plan was. Like, what's he trying to achieve here? What's the style of play that he's going for, or what are the tactics that we're trying to mold ourselves around? And I thought when Graham Potter came in, he was a manager that would have a slightly stronger philosophy on the way he wanted to play. And either he didn't because we never saw it come through, or our players were just that bad that he could just never influence his style of play. So yeah, no hard feet. Like even when Lopetegui left, there's no like animosity or dislike, or he's not kind of rubbed the fans or anybody up the wrong way. Just wasn't the right fit, really, unfortunately. And the way we started, I think it needed a different character at the helm.
What do you think will happen with him? Can you see him working in the Premier League again?
I can definitely I can. I think the thing is, right, it's for any manager, you see all sorts of managers that work at one club and then don't work at another, right? Nuno's a perfect example. He didn't work at your club, but he did a great job at Nottingham Forest. You need the combination of like the owner and the management of the club and the manager and then the squad to all kind of click for a manager to do well. And sometimes when one or two of those things is out of sync, then it doesn't work. So I think he's still held in higher regard. I mean, he was talked about for the England job before Tommy Tuchel got it. So I still think that he has some credit in the bank in the Premier League. I think it helps that he's an English/British manager. So I think a club that is struggling and thinks, okay, we need someone to get us out of trouble.
No,
He
you go for
might,
someone more like Nuno, don't you?
yeah, you would, but I think he might be an easy option for someone. Having said that, he also took quite a lot of time out of the game after the Chelsea role. He was waiting for the right club for him. So whether or not
Stop
he would
laughing.
then, whether or not he would then just jump into a kind of crisis role like that, I just don't think he would. I don't think he's that kind of character that'd be like, oh, cool, that job's available. Yeah, I'll jump in and take it. Like if well, Sunderland, Leeds are doing well, even Burnley, all right. Let's say Wolves were to part ways with Pereira. Sean Dyche was offered the role. He'd take it all day long. You know, he's that kind of manager that's like, all right, let's roll my sleeves up. I'm going to jump in and take that job. I don't know if Graham Potter's that kind of guy that would necessarily. So I'm not sure. He's managed overseas before as well as Graham Potter. So maybe that might be an option for him. I still think there's a manager there. Obviously, he's got capabilities, but it didn't fit at my club. And I think it's not all his fault. Like the ownership has got a part to play. What he inherited from the Lopetegui Tim Steidten era in terms of transfers and acquisition and the way that they built the squad has a part to play. And he wasn't the right guy to turn it around in the end. I think he's got a future.
I think he's a good and nice man, but I think it rubs his own supporters up the wrong way in periods of concern. Because you want him to show something, like when you equalised on Monday night, like Nuno's given it a bigger celebration than Potter would have done for like any goal.
Yeah.
It's like, a little bit of passion in charge. I think the only circumstance I could see him managing in the Premier League again, in terms of getting a job at a current Premier League club, almost would be if someone deemed him in a pre-season to be the right fit. Like otherwise, managers are generally changing because something's gone wrong. I don't think you'd look at him as a firefighter manager, therefore.
Definitely not.
So although who knows, he might rock up at Forest next week. But I think like under that sort of scenario, I think Forest would take a different approach. So I think he probably either needs to drop to the Championship and take someone up. So he's got the buy-in from those supporters, or cut his cloth abroad.
You kind of, if you're saying he's not a firefighter manager, you're ruling out the bottom 6 clubs. You're ruling out the top 6, 7, 8 clubs because they've either got elite level managers already and he's not going to get a job there. So you're kind of narrowing it to a selection of 6 or 7 teams in the Premier League that might go there. But where? Like Bournemouth and Iraola, that's not going to happen. Glasner if Glasner left Palace, would they go there? Maybe. But yeah, it's a very small number of teams that are even options for him. So
wherever he went, the fans would have concerns about it if it's a Premier League job. They'd go, hang on, ultimately, his last 2 jobs, he's been sacked within a year.
Yep.
Like, it's not a great look, unfortunately.
No.
And also, ultimately, all of us, I'm pretty certain, feel that you have a better chance of staying up now than you did this time last week. And it's not the result on Monday night or the performance. It's just who's in charge.
Correct.
Thoughts on Nuno?
I mean, he was the manager that I wanted. I think we got very lucky that he became available with the whole Marinakis thing at Nottingham Forest. I think when he became available, I think that the fact that he was available may have forced the owner's hands a little bit with Potter to get it done. He was the manager I wanted. When kind of rumours started appearing about like the Slaven Bilic's of the world and what have you, I didn't want any of that. Like Nuno for me, I like the way he speaks. I think he's got authority, carries himself well. He seems firm but fair. He's definitely got passion. He can set his team up defensively, no problem kind of from that perspective. We've seen what he can do with Forest. We are structured. I think our squad is structured well as a 4-2-3-1. And if I look at what we have as personnel versus what Nottingham Forest have, other than the centre-backs, where there's obviously a complete disparity in quality. Like you look at the two midfielders, he was playing with Sangare and Elliot Anderson. I do think Magassa and Fernandez. Magassa can play the Sangare role, and Fernandez could play the Elliot Anderson role, for example. I feel like Paqueta could fit the Gibbs White role, for example. You got Somerville and Bowen on the flanks, could be a Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, for example. Fulcrum could be a Wood. There's similarities in the squad. You've got Diouf as a bombing forward fullback. Maybe that's Ola Aina, but it's the opposite side of the pitch. So across the squad as a 4-2-3-1, we've got the personnel to replicate a little bit of his style at Nottingham Forest. I think other than the glaring issues that we've known under Potter and we can't really fix right now are the two centre-backs. He's had Kilman before. Whether or not he can make Kilman a better player, let's see. He's straight away come in on a Saturday and decided on the Monday that he's not taking Todibo or James Ward-Prowse to Liverpool for the Everton game. Now,
he did say that yesterday that Todibo had issues training the
yeah,
previous week.
But Ward-Prowse, there was no
Well, he had him at
indication of that.
Forest, and he wasn't. He'd sent it back, right? So
Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of like we're not going to really use him, take him back, and we did use him. So he knows what he wants, right? I suppose whether or not he needs a bit of time, and maybe he can be won round by these players, and he wants to see a little bit more before he makes his decision. But he's not scared of making a big decision quickly. He's definitely got the passion, and yeah, I think the thing is as well, it's a poison chalice, is maybe the wrong word, but our owners just want Premier League football, and they want to stay in the Premier League and be in and around top half or whatever. And if we get a bit of Europe, great. They're not really. We've flirted with trying to get a more progressive manager with Pellegrini or Lopetegui, and it's never really worked out, right? I think Nuno's very safe, and that is what the manager, the owners will want. And I think he will want a bit of stability. I think it's going to end up being a case of it. He'll just keep us ticking along, similar to Moyes. He's a more Moyes-esque, keep us in the Premier League, anywhere between 7th and 12th every year. Our owners will be happy with that. He'll keep it moving. So he'll be a safe pair of hands until and when there's a change of ownership. I'm really happy we've got him, to be honest with you. From what I've seen, the way he's conducted himself, the way he's talking about the club and what he wants to do, I feel like so much more reassured having him there.
certainly in terms of your chances of staying up and feeling safe, I think that's absolutely right. Intriguing. Speaking of Sham, who it's one of our patrons, a West Ham fan, on our Zoom call earlier this week, and I think Sham's frustration that he was getting across, which is fair, was it feels like at this moment that you might as well have just kept going with David Moyes. I still think that was the right thing to do, to cut off, because I think it had gone a bit stale and it was time for everybody to go in a different direction. I still think that was the right thing to do. And it's worth acknowledging you were conceding a shed load of goals when Moyes actually was in charge towards the end of that season. So I think the change was right, but it feels like you've wasted like this period in between and gone to a manager that kind of again feels a bit safer, which is I think how people felt about Moyes.
I think Nuno's better than Moyes. Maybe that's recency bias in my current lens at looking at it, but I think overall, if you said to me, would you rather have Nuno or Moyes, I'm going to take Nuno all day long. But I do think and acknowledge that maybe a little bit of recency bias. And we did concede a lot of goals at the end under Moyes. You're right.
Do you acknowledge that you've just appointed the only manager you've beat this season?
Yeah, I mean, there's conspiracy theories going around that the point that we had gone to the City ground, he already knew that the discussions were being had and what have you, so threw it for us. But it was only a week or so later that he got sacked, right?
Yeah,
maybe one more game.
Yeah, it was during the international break, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And with Nuno's departure and with Potter's departure, it was very clear because of the timing of those sackings that something was going to get done very, very quickly. I think to go back to Potter doing the press conference on the Friday, I don't think we can know at that point that the Nuno deal was agreed, mate. So what can they do if it's not agreed? What can they do at that point? Like pull him out the press conference? They can't, can they? They've got to. It's harsh and it feels like you said horrible taste in the mouth. But I think you've got to proceed, because what if he still ended up doing the game on Monday? Then it would be even weirder, isn't it? Then he's kind of managing a team in an untenable position. So I think they had to let him do it.
it had to be done. And credit to the owners for getting the person that I think was the right one. Others may disagree, but I think he was the right one.
Okay. Would you make the game Monday night?
So was quite excited for the game. I think overall it was that team is our first choice 11 in my opinion. But you could argue Wan-Bissaka versus Walker Peters.
He is available for tomorrow.
You
The
could
stomachache has
argue.
gone.
Okay, that's good to know. He must have had some dodgy lasagna, mate. We're famous for it.
Maybe he was in that famous Phil Foden curry house.
And obviously the centre backs, like with Igor and stuff, we don't know yet. But I think overall, that's our first choice 11. That's the 11 that we've been crying out for. I understand some of the players in you, like Magassa, getting in. So I was excited for the game, knowing that it would be a difficult game. I thought we first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we conceded the ball on purpose. Like I think it was a case of let them have the ball and let's just feel our way into the game because I don't know what the possession stats were in the 15 or 20 minutes, but we didn't have any of the ball. We would just literally hold our position and let's just see what happens and feel our way into the game. So I thought it was a very cagey start from us, but understandable. It was just a case of right, let's just get settled a little bit. The problem is obviously when we concede a goal like we did during that period, at that point you think, same old problems. Like Mavropanos is an issue at centre back there. So to be 1-0 down, but then I thought we reacted well after that, and we played on the front foot. We moved the ball around a lot quicker. I think Magassa, I was impressed with. I think he's a defensive midfielder, but he's got ability on the ball. I think he's got good feet. He sprayed around some really nice passes. Got some good vision. I think he's progressive with the ball. You talk about for Spurs, you have issues with ball progression. I think Magassa actually can move the ball into the wide players and what have you.
Can we have him in January then?
Sorry?
Can we have him in January?
Well, if we're making a profit, I think David Sullivan will do anything, mate. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. We got into the game more and more and more and more. Yeah, in the end, we played well. I thought we came out the second half really well. There's a lot to be excited about from the game again. We didn't give up a lot of open play XG, which we haven't been all season. I think the lowest XG in total we've given up in a game this season, right? So that was good. Diouf and Somerville on the left. Like Diouf, I hate to be, and I told you so much, but we saw glimpses of it at the start of the season. No one could have seen that he would progress like this, but the fact that he is constantly whipping in very good delivery, and he's taking corners now, which he was in the previous game. Now that James Ward-Prowse is not in the team, makes him a really good, interesting asset, and he looks a really lively player. Plus his engine as well, James. Like it's 70, 80 minutes into the game, and he's just bombing up and down, bombing
stuff,
up and
mate.
down.
Even Sean on Clash of Correspondence had to make a point of him.
Yeah, he's a very good young boy, 20 years old. So yeah, very happy with him. Somerville was man of the match. I think Diouf was. Bowen is as Bowen does. You know, when he gets to the ball and he's cutting in on his left, that he's highly likely to be able to finish and put the ball away. We had some good chances. Fulcrum put himself about. Overall, much more enthused, I would say. I thought we did well. By the end, the second half, I thought it was quite an even game. Like they had chances as well, but it was nice to see two teams that were like swinging and trying to win the game. Maybe not with the greatest quality in the world, but both teams were trying to create and finish it. And yeah, it was good. It was just nice to see slightly faster paced football, more attacking, strong down the left hand side. Defensively a little bit more solid, even though we conceded from a very sloppy goal. But I enjoyed the game. I would say that's one of the biggest takeaways is like, okay, this is good to watch. Got excited by it, enjoyed it. Some of the players gave me something to cheer for them about rather than kind of being demoralized. Yeah, really good vibe from the end of it. Got to remember we didn't win. It was a draw, but still.
You'd have taken that before the game.
Going to the Hilly Dick this is going to be a tough game for most people. So happy to come away with a point and see some progression.
Yeah, he left Sean a bit disappointed, obviously, how Everton had played. And I think we're going to keep the focus here on West Ham. All I'd add on Everton primarily is, yes, I'd recommend the COTC with Sean and Rory on Everton Palace as our feature game this week. Sean stressed concerns that they're a little bit predictable in the sense it's right, get it out to like Grealish and Dyer.
Grealish and die.
But opponents are now like, right, okay, this is kind of the big threat. Let's double up on these guys. So I think like this time last week, wildcarders were wanting to put Everton in. This week, I don't think you would, with
No.
Palace and Man City as the next couple. Sean also kind of wanted to make a point that he kind of thinks Tarkovsky actually probably is a bit overblown in terms of his price at the moment. That
Yep.
was admittedly the first time that he hasn't hit DEFCON this season, which is a continuing trend of people struggling to pick DEFCON up against West Ham. We saw that, for example, with Moises Caicedo in game week 2. I don't think those who've gone for the likes of Ndiaye and Grealish should like panic and disappear and come off. But yeah, the time to add was last week. It's not now. And I think if you're wild carding now, you probably don't go any Everton as it
Yep.
would stand. You may want to go some West Ham though. Although it's obviously, it feels like the toughest game in the league this weekend. The fixtures afterwards obviously really do appeal. Brentford, Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley. 3 of the 4 at home with the one away game at Leeds. I felt that in the middle of the second half, you played really well. Like you could feel it was up. Like they were getting conscious. That left hand dual threat of Diouf and Somerville, actually, I think is going to be quite a feature we see going forward. It also has a really nice consequence, I think, for Bowen.
Hmm.
You can't just put all your eggs now into thinking, oh, well, if we deal with Bowen, we might stop West Ham. Because
Yep.
those two, with their speed on that left hand side, is insane.
Yep.
So as a consequence, I think you might get teams overload to your side a little bit. Jared Bowen
Freeze
might
up Bowen.
find space
Mm.
a little bit more. Paquetá feels more comfortable, more at home in a role where he's got 2 players sitting behind him, and
Yep.
his work rate's obviously good. Fulkrug, as you said, there are kind of parallels you could draw with Wood and the successes that, say, Chris Wood had obviously at Nottingham Forest last season. In terms of team lineup moving forward, you would think, I mean, at Arsenal, you would think it's probably the same team. And moving forward, there's only kind of question marks in terms of composition of centre backs and if Wan-Bissaka comes back in. Otherwise, I think we can expect this to be the team moving forward. Would you see Fulkrug getting favoured over Wilson now then?
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why he would get dropped, and we need him for leadership. So I think Fulkrug over Wilson. I could see. I don't know what happens on the training pitch. So Hermanson was obviously brought in to be first choice keeper. If for whatever reason Nuno fancies him, maybe he could get back in, and maybe Wan-Bissaka could get back in. But other than that, yeah, copy paste.
I think if there was a change this weekend, that's the only one I could foresee.
Yeah,
Is Wan-Bissaka playing? We obviously don't know where his fitness is at. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure it would be the same team. Bowen, you and I have owned since the start in
yeah, he's
FPL.
dropped down to like 7.7. So some people might be looking to pick up.
Yeah, they are. Not this week, obviously, but I can even understand Wildcard is setting it up for next week. Next week, yeah, it's going to be really interesting because the teams you actually want to invest in game week 8 is quite murky.
Yep.
It's not great. There are some uglier fixtures there. So I think it'll be really intriguing for people. Any reason to put people off?
If you haven't got, well, I don't think you want to double up on West Ham. So if you wanted to give up a midfielder spot to Somerville, who's considerably cheaper, and you want to save the money, then that's the only reason, right? So at the moment, Haaland's obviously hugely popular. Gyökeres is popular because of Arsenal's fixtures potentially. João Pedro is another one that Chelsea's good fixtures start imminently. Voltemade's put his hand up. There's other good strikers around, and you've only got 3 striker slots. And Somerville offers an alternative. So that's the only reason I would say if you wanted to go in that direction, I could understand not going Bowen, but talisman.
Do you want to sit there with 2 West Ham attackers though?
No, exactly. So you pick one or the other. You don't do both.
Well, we haven't seen anything from Somerville as yet in his West Ham career to make us think that he could provide regular attacking returns.
No, other than coming off the bench the other week and picking up an assist and stuff. But I get what you mean. You want consistency. You don't want like
Well, the
every now
game's
and then
changed
stuff.
now in the sense with like Somerville's at 5.5 and you're like, should I just be going like Xhaka's at 5 or even
Yeah,
Anderson's or
Elliot
Casado's at
Anderson.
the same
Yeah,
price? Like,
yep, yep.
yeah. When I wanted to ask you about in terms of fantasy was Diouf versus Kilman. Now, people might laugh at the prospect of that, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Nuno's walked in the door and Kilman, who we mentioned a lot in pre-season, like could be good for DEFCONs, suddenly hits it straight away against a team that's not ball dominant in terms of Everton. So the thing is, Diouf like really appeals, but ultimately he's got 4 assists, which I presume is probably the most attacking returns, is it, for a defender in the game?
I think it's the most assists for anyone in the game. Like he tied with a couple of people, Grealish
Okay,
and Kudus and stuff. I think,
so
yeah,
but there's like 20 defenders or so that have scored more of him. So he needs clean
some clean
sheets.
sheets as well. Yeah.
He needs to keep getting the attacking returns to make him worthwhile. I think if I had to pick one, I'd go Kilman.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
boring,
know,
I know, but it's
I
like
know. And
these
this is a
guys are like
debate
a waste of
in the
time at the moment.
this is a debate in the community. I've seen what people are kind of like, how do you make an attacking fullback interesting when the DEFCONs are picking up 2 points every week without
It's got to score
failures in their
goals.
season and stuff? Yeah, so I get it completely. I get it. He's sitting there for me, so I'm not about to make that move.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
And because of the fact that he's taking corners and stuff as well. I mean, if he's picking up an assist 1 in every 3 or what have you, but then you're talking about a defender getting 12, 13 assists in a season. That's a
But the
lot.
point is, at the moment, he's obviously running at 2 assists in 3,
Yeah.
and it's not worthwhile having.
Because we haven't kept any clean sheets.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
well,
So
that
if
may
they
well
get
obviously
added in a
change
little
under
bit,
Nuno.
it might change. And I think we do have the anomaly of like Gahey having scored a goal and he doesn't. His goal threat's not. Well, it's there, but goals and assists. Like Senesi's picked up a goal and assist this season so far as well. So the DEFCON guys have also picked up attacking returns so far this season, which has muddied it a little bit. But I think, look, if you want to have a bit of fun, he's just such a great
I
asset.
totally accept that.
Two game weeks. I talked about it the previous week when I had assist Reinders, goal Haaland. I had assist Diouf, goal Bowen. Same thing happened against Everton. Assist Diouf, goal Bowen. It's going to happen 5 more times this season. Assist Diouf, goal Bowen. I would add with Diouf because it depends on your structure of your defense. I've only played him once this season in 6 weeks. That's the other thing, right? So if you're not playing him, then
You might as well just get one of the 4s.
just get one of the 4s. Get out the Rate or
And my theory
Mukiele
would
or
probably be that for him to be worthwhile having, i.e., right, yeah, he's going to have enough attacking returns. The clean sheets are going to be there. I think that if you start keeping clean sheets, I think Kilman will be his equal, mate, at a minimum.
yeah, I mean,
Because if you're
he likes
keeping
a
clean
shot.
sheets and defending the box and winning games 1-0, he's going to start in his DEFCONs regularly, I think.
He likes a
under
shot
Nuno.
from distance, but I think Kilman's goal threat from corners is better than Diouf's goal threat from open play.
Do you think? He never strikes as a player who will get many Kilman.
Yeah, but exactly. That's the point. It's not neither of a big goal threat.
No, but I would think if Kilman was to become a 1-in-2 for DEFCONs, he'll outscore Diouf. That's the point.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think it won't be much in it. Won't be much in it.
Something to monitor. No one particularly needs to make that decision this week because I think the decisions are primarily being made on Arsenal.
Yes.
We've got a graphic on screen for those on YouTube of I've put together kind of predicted lineups for the 2 teams this weekend. I think the West Ham team has covered speaks for itself. Same team that played at Everton, unless pretty much Nuno wants to throw Wan-Bissaka straight back in. I don't think he will.
No.
Actually, I think Walker Peters will probably play again. You know, the only Arsenal player to play 90 minutes in outfield player playing 90 minutes in both games this week, Newcastle and Olympiacos.
Got Chris?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Would
Bought him yesterday.
So it obviously doesn't concern.
No. I think he's.
I'd be very surprised if he didn't start. I'd be very surprised if Timber and Calafiori went fullbacks based on the team Arsenal picked in midweek. It's worth saying Zubimendi played heavy minutes in those 2 games. But again, I'd be surprised if he didn't play. Obviously, we need to wait and see what Arteta says later today, but we don't trust the man anyway, right? If he says Gabriel's 100% fine, it should probably put you off buying him rather than if he tells you he's out. I would expect Gabriel to play, though. He actually said after full time, he said, I think he's fine. And I would imagine it would be Gabriel Saliba, the regular partnership at centre back. I think West Ham have enough counter-attacking threat. If
Yeah,
you look at West Ham's
it's a banana
attacking
skin
players,
fixture for them.
uh,
Mm. I do think now with Nuno there, there's going to be a we can't take this lightly. Whereas under Potter, I would have been back in Arsenal 3 or 4 nil. Mm.
Saka will start. Don't think
Yep.
there's too much doubt about that. Having had a break in midweek, Declan Rice similar, and I assume the same with Eze, which kind of left me in a bit of a quandary in terms of what Arsenal will do. And there's various different things that they can do this week. Trossard's started the last two games. Martinelli has obviously been involved. We've seen him quite a bit off the right recently, as Clayton and I discussed on Tottenham Arse in midweek. Obviously, Odegaard played quite well in the midweek victory against Olympiacos. I think there's an intent to get Eze in central areas, but I wonder if it might cause a little bit of confliction. So the way I've set this up is that Odegaard plays, and they have a real lean and a bias towards the left hand side to really push Calafiori on and get Eze off the left into 10 half space positions. So Arsenal almost form a box behind Gyökeres, and we see Calafiori push on as maybe we've seen said like Vardiol do in the past for Manchester City. Timber can also tuck inside to form an extra man in midfield if they want to push Rice into a more advanced position and make it almost more like a 2-2-6 or a 3-1-6, for example. But I'm not sure about that. You got any strong thoughts on Arsenal?
Well, it definitely takes away a bit of their width on the left-hand side. So I was thinking Martinelli on the left, to be honest with you, maybe just to give them a little bit more width. But other than that, I'm in agreement that it'll be largely the team that you've put out. Mm.
Yeah, I think it'll be that bar. Like Odegaard feels like the big question mark in there. Just not sure. It could be Odegaard, Martinelli, Trossard. I'm pretty sure Eze plays.
You drop
Saka will
Eze
definitely
into
play.
the Odegaard position and put Martinelli out on
Well,
the
that's what
left,
they've
maybe
done
something like that.
recently. Is obviously ideally to Eze in front of Rice and Zubimendi, and I think Arsenal fans have liked what they've seen of Eze in that position. Rice obviously can play multiple different roles for Arsenal. I thought about this in terms of him playing to the right of Zubimendi. He sat in a lot deeper. Clates has spoke about this as well. He sat in a lot deeper this year, Declan Rice. I think part of that is to do with Calafiori and him being just a more advanced fullback. I wondered if they might stick Rice to the right of Zubimendi, play Eze as the 10 to sort of like the left 10, just to counter against that threat of Diouf and Somerville. But then I thought about it more and I thought, well, if you're a bit concerned that that opens up space for Bowen, who do you want to get across quickly? It's more Rice.
Mm.
So I still think Rice to the left of Zubimendi to try and deal with Bowen. And I think Arsenal will try and probably pin Diouf in quite hard by obviously having Saka really high on in the right wing position. Arsenal assets. So you've bought Gyökeres, have you?
Yeah, I bought Gyökeres for João Pedro, and I already own Gabriel. I'd like to own Raya as well, but I don't. I'm not. I'm not going to take a hit for a goalkeeper move, and I can make that move next week or the week after. But yeah, I would if it was me, I'd double defense over double attack. I know people want to pick Saka, and I totally understand that, but it'd be Saka or Gyökeres for me. I've just got a feeling for Gyökeres over the next 5 or 6. And I'd go Raya and Gabriel if I had to pick 3. Gabriel being first choice and then Raya. I do think Timber offers a good alternative as well.
The problem with them is, it's like you look at this week and you go, "Oh, can I save the money?" It's like, yeah, you absolutely can, but it's the fixtures further down the line, things like Burnley away, Sunderland away. The ones it could easily be White and Lewis Skelly and stuff. It just feels
Yeah,
like that, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
I think, look, Gabriel or Saliba is more liable for arrest than they have been in the past because Mosquera's quite impressed. But the difference with them players is if they get the rest, they probably don't get on at all.
Yep.
So you're not looking as likely as the 1 pointer. And it's just a little bit more secure going forward, I think. If I knew that Timber and Calafiori were going to play every week, then all 4 of them Arsenal defenders would be interesting. And you'd probably put Saliba bottom of that list.
Yep.
But Saliba, I'm pretty sure, will be the regular right-sided centre back. Therefore, he's the second best choice in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll almost definitely buy Gabriel for Murillo later today, but obviously subject to team news. Right, bit of a roundup things from Europe.
Indeed.
Not going to go into too much detail on this because I certainly on Tottenham I did a big enough rant on Patreon on Wednesday. But for the FPL heads out there, Porro, Kudos, Simmons will start. I'd be like 99% on that as they didn't start in midweek. That probably applies to João Paulinho as well, I should imagine. Those four being back in the team will make Tottenham look a little bit stronger. I would say Richarlison is highly likely to start. But if we had another midweek fixture next week rather than an international break, I think that he wouldn't start. He's the only forward they've got at the moment. So I
Yep.
think they'd probably go like they did at West Ham in game week 4, just play Tell at the 9 and accept that the rest of the team's a bit stronger. I'd actually quite like to see Tell play off the left tomorrow and have a potential opportunity at that. I don't know if he's going to do that. Christian Romero is obviously subject to whatever Thomas Frank tells us at circa sort of 1:30 p.m. UK time today. But those primarily have got the assets. You'll be probably fine this week. If you've got Richarlison or any Tottenham players, I think you'd be looking to move it on after this week, personally.
Romero's got a knock, has he? I didn't
Well,
realise.
he was left out for precautionary reasons
Ah, okay.
in Norway on Tuesday. Um, who knows? I've seen enough over with managers over the last couple of years that precautionary reasons can quickly turn into 2 months. So let's see what Frank says later today. But he was seen in some training videos yesterday, sitting around the changing rooms and stuff like that. Some stuff they posted on socials. So I imagine Romero will probably be all right. If you're on wildcard, don't have any Tottenham players. There's a spoiler for you. You might want to look at Georgi Mamadashvili if you are, who's 4.3. Allison, we think, is going to be out for sort of circa 6 weeks or so. They obviously lost in
Ooh.
Galatasaray on Tuesday. It's another disappointing result. It's kind of putting the media scrutiny on them suddenly. It is amazing. There's so much criticism of them at the moment, which includes from myself as well. They're top of the league, right? There's
Yep.
worse places you could
Yep.
be. Mamadashvili is 4.3. He will play for a bit. Allison, unfortunately, just he does seem to pick up an injury
He
every
has
single
more
season,
recently now,
doesn't he?
yeah. Mm.
Unfortunately. So he's a good goalkeeper. He's reliable. Many of us have obviously seen him play for Georgia, or perhaps many of you have seen him play for Valencia previously as well. I would say he's quite a dangerous pick for wildcarders. He's potentially then going to be two transfers for you to get the Liverpool player you want. It's very conceivable that you get to sort of game week 12 and you're like, oh my God, I want Isak, Salah, Van Dijk. And you're sitting there with Mamadashvili, where you need one to get him out, and then it's another transfer to put in the next Liverpool player you want. And considering those sort of players I mentioned, they're nowhere near the value perspective, are they? Mamadashvili is not going to find you the money, is he, for like
No.
Isak if you want to get there? So it might be that it's going to end up being free transfers. That's why I think it's quite dangerous.
But
For
for
those,
those like you and me wildcarding a bit later, as it stands right now, 12,
well,
13, you might want to stick in.
those, yes, those walking in 13, I think it's for them, it's a little bit more intriguing, but I still can't be fussed of it personally.
Yeah. I
Just
look at
can't
Matt
bother to
Sells
make a
in.
goalkeeper change.
Yeah, I get it. I look at Matt Sells with Ange in charge now, and I'm like, I want to deal with that.
I hear
Uh,
you.
Getting Dashvili instead of David Raya gives me 1.2 million. That makes me in a good spot to do something more
But
interesting. And I only,
Forest might have Sean Dyche next week.
I don't know about next week, maybe next month.
Tomorrow, by the time this podcast has gone out. Yeah, I think just have a cautiousness. The idea of having a 4.3 Liverpool goalkeeper does really appeal. I get that. And you have this, we've had this with players in the past, someone like Shimikas. And with Shimikas off as his infamous bench boost when he didn't mean to do it and he hauled for
Yeah,
him. 4.0, it's like, Shimikas is going to play for 4 to 6 weeks. Ultimately, it's going to become something that you need to deal with later on. So if those were still on wildcard and have got a goalkeeper problem, a little bit like you're like, I get it. And obviously, in your case, that does put zero point 0.7 in the bank, which
it's
might
quite
be
a lot.
useful
Yeah,
for something else. And I
yeah.
think, okay, there's some acknowledgement for it. For me, I can't bother with it.
0.6, James. Matt Sells has had a price drop.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
Mm.
You need to keep an eye on live FPL and other
Yeah, but
popular.
I wasn't gonna do it to avoid a 1.1 on Sells. I wasn't gonna force the issue. But remember,
Um,
a lot of people have Dubravka as their reserve keeper at 4.0. And I'm going to say it's fine. Like worst case
yeah,
scenario,
I
if
mean,
Dashvili there, if you then end up having to play Dubravka for a few weeks or what have you, it's not the end of the world.
we were looking at, so I've got Verbruggen and Perry. So Verbruggen this week away to Wolves, like, it's okay. We were on that Zoom call earlier the week. We was discussing obviously prospect of Marmadashvili because it was the day after the Liverpool game on when we were discussing that on Wednesday. And when we were looking at it, I stumbled across for those on wildcard 13. Like if I went Dubravka in for Perry rather than Mamadashvili, my rotation into a planned wildcard would be Wolves away, Leeds at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home, West Ham away, Brentford at home.
And that's for
And then you
Bruggen
look at that
and
and you think, well, if I am
for
that
Bruggen and
bothered,
Dubravka.
yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect them to
Yeah,
get anything.
then you wouldn't bother with
But truthfully,
Dashvili.
across this same period, Liverpool are playing Chelsea away, Man United at home, Brentford away, Villa at home, Man City away, Forest at home. Like, how many clean sheets do you
Is
expect
it
there?
is it much better? No.
Well,
Yeah.
the easiest on paper there is obviously the Forest and the Brentford games. Brentford have done really well in their home games so far this season.
Yep.
And Forest, even if it is still under Ange, right, well, they're not short of good attacking players, are they?
No.
So I don't think it's worthwhile for most people. And I think if you're on wildcard, I actually think it's quite dangerous because it is something you will need to deal with. You can say, oh, I'll leave him further on. Yeah, once you hit sort of game with 12, 13 and stuff, there's every chance you're going to want three Liverpool players. And I
Yep.
think goalkeeper should almost be your least important choice with the way the game is with DEFCONs, etc., etc. For Chelsea, João Pedro got sent off. I mean, it was another Chelsea game with a red card. Not that it mattered, it was very late in the game. And actually, as a consequence, this is probably good news for FPL managers. So he's been left out the Brazil squad to give him time to basically rest up because he's carrying a little bit of a problem. I imagine there'll be a number of Chelsea players not going away on international duty that you'd probably expect. So when they come back, it's Forest away on the lunchtime, 12:30, and you'd have had that little bit of concern. Oh, Brazil, the long travel. I think they're playing games against Japan and Korea and Asia. That's now not a problem. He'll obviously then be suspended for the Champions League game the midweek afterwards. So Sunderland at home now feels a lot safer. The midweek afterwards is Carabao Cup. Then they go to Tottenham. So I think between game week 7 and 10, as long as this injury isn't going to keep him out, then he'll be fine for minutes. So as a consequence, looks a little bit better now. They rotated fairly heavily at the moment. We've already acknowledged the concerns for them defensively going into the weekend. I don't know what they're going to do. A Champion and Badiashile, maybe. Feels like it's going to be a Champion plus one of Badiashile or Hatto. Badiashile, by all accounts, played quite well Tuesday night.
Fair play. Yep.
Newcastle had a great result in Belgium against our friends Union
Saint-Gilloise.
Which included Anthony Gordon scoring two penalties, and we assume that he's on them.
Yeah,
they look
I think
lively.
that's a fair. I think it's fair to say he'll be taking penalties.
It doesn't surprise me that they've gone Tonali, Guimaraes, Joel Linton, Ilanga, Voltamade, Gordon, and Spank someone. Doesn't surprise me. Good lift for them following, I think, kind of real disappointment the way, obviously, the end of the Arsenal game finished up. I feel lots are asking about Newcastle defensive ones at the moment. Livramento has been ruled out for, we think, sort of circa 2 months. Probably not going to see him before December at the earliest, in terms of early December. Logically, you think Trips plays right back, right?
Yep.
That would be the kind of obvious solution. But could they play a back three more often and use someone like Murphy at wing back? Could Malik Chow play right back? Possibility. Fabian Schär's back available again now. You got Burn and Botman, obviously, two left-footed centre backs. We've seen Dan Burn can obviously comfortably play left back.
Yep.
Surely you would think even more so with Livramento out, they want to try and get Lewis Hall back in this team.
Yep.
Complicated. The safest one, probably, and he has probably been the best one for DEFCON so far, probably is Dan Burn.
Right.
Eddie Howe doesn't like playing without him. But I do think there probably will be the odd game that they do.
Yeah, no, but I mean, what price Dan Burn in at? 5 million? I'm not really
in that range. Might even be 5-1. I forget.
So yeah, it's reasonable. Dan Burn is 5 on the nose. Livramento's it's gone up to 5-1. All the others are give or take 5. James, Lewis Hall's dropped down to 5-3. It's a bit of a lottery here, isn't it?
I think if you're on wildcard, you probably want to be looking at Newcastle assets. We'll come back to that. Man City drew 2-2 in Monaco, considered a late equaliser. A somewhat controversial penalty decision. Eric Dyer's face getting grazed by Nico Gonzalez's shin as he won a header. Don't really think there's enough contact to be overturning that and giving a penalty personally, but there is a little bit of contact. You could see Dyer looked like he'd been on Santa's sleigh, mate. His nose was a bit red, so he obviously did feel the contact. And Eric Dyer took the penalty and scored as well. Erling Haaland had scored twice. If you haven't seen his second headed goal, well, his headed goal, City's second goal, you need to go and have a look at that. That is an unbelievable header. He's basically standing jump, Suj, and he's like, feels like he's 8 foot in the air and just buries it in the corner.
Yep.
Brilliant headed goal. And he finished the first one really nicely where there was a bit of patience and actually Vardyol's dinked a ball over the top. What we keep talking about, he only needs him a couple of yards and he's in. He's dinked it over the keeper and scored. Form is good. No doubt about my captaincy at the weekend. I feel City might have some challenges Sunday, though. As I said, Brentford have done well in some of these tougher games so far this season.
Yeah, I'd looked at this game week a while back, and I've got obviously Bruno Fernandes has got Sunderland at home. You've got Gyökeres with West Ham at home. I didn't think that I would go with Erling Haaland away at Brentford, but it's irresistible. I just cannot not put the armband on him. Particularly if City score early, then it's open season. They can rack up 2 or 3. So I'm going to be leaving it on Erling Haaland, particularly from what we saw at midweek in Europe. What did he play in the end as well? He played the full game, 90.
Yeah, but they've had 4-day this week was never going to be a problem.
It's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Great result for Villa last night in Rotterdam, beat Feyenoord 2-0. This time last week, I referenced a tweet from Lee saying not always well after they beat Bologna. And this week, I'll reference another tweet from our Villa correspondent, Lee Jackson, who's tweeted, crisis? What crisis? They've obviously won
3 wins
the last
in a row,
3
right?
games, and now it's all absolutely fine. Watkins came off around 75, I think, last night. I think that's good news for owners. Should be good for the start against Burnley
Didn't
at the
score,
weekend.
though.
No, but scored last week. That's fine. Morgan Rogers played 90. That wouldn't be a concern because he's Mr. Indestructible. Tyrone Mings is out of this weekend. So Pau Torres will play left-sided centre-back. Left back, a little bit of a question mark between Dean and Maatsen. But it feels like there wasn't much headline from the European games this week. And then Ange happened last night. So Nottingham Forest were beaten at home by the Danish club Midtjylland. Conceded 2 sloppy goals from set pieces. And after the third went in on a counter-attack, which arguably could have been a free kick to Nottingham Forest, there was, I can only assume, a fairly large section of the home support, because you could hear it clearly on the TV, who were chanting, "You're getting sacked in the morning." On my Ask James stream on Tuesday, one of our patrons asked a question, Ani Dazia, and he asked me who I thought would be next manager sacked after Amrin, basically. And I paused about it and I was thinking, it's a tough question now that Potter's gone as well. And I said Ange, because I could visualize the scenario thinking about the league games. Well, it's Newcastle away, it's Chelsea at home, it's Bournemouth, it's United, right? This could go on for a while. Then if they don't beat Leeds in game week 11, then they go to Liverpool in 12. Suddenly you're going, oh my God, they've dropped like a stone. They're in huge trouble. Panic.
I look at this, I didn't obviously watch any of it or the highlights. And I look at the fact that they had more than 60% possession, Forest.
He's Ange.
22 shots.
Yeah, been
4
here.
big chances.
Yeah.
They've drawn the opposition goalkeeper to make 7 saves.
Yeah.
They've racked up an XG, including a penalty of 2.05. And they've also conceded 4 big chances and lost the game 3-2. Is there anything more Ange than that?
Not really, mate. I've been here. I know it well, don't I? And I really feel Forest fans' pain at the moment. And actually, listening to his interview after the game last night, you could see he was hurting. And I was hurting a bit for him as well. Because as I said, I want him to do well. I can't see it, man. Yeah. They've got defensive issues. I mean, clearly, the manager might be a big part of that. But Murillo played last night. He's lasted about half hour. Zinchenko's now got a problem for the weekend as well. He actually started with a back 3 last night and abandoned that and went to a back 4 at half time. Um, yeah, it's familiar things that I know unfortunately all too well, and yeah, I'm alarmed for him and them. I think that's a bit over the top from the Forest fans personally. They're entitled to chant what they want, but I think 6 games in, hmm, but maybe they're sitting there thinking, well, hang on, we're really worried about this now. No, sorry, this isn't right. And it's not helped. I said this last week about Mika Richards, might have been Monday with yourself, about Mika Richards saying, oh, he's had some tough games so far. And you're reading them off and you're
Uh,
like, your Swansea,
no, no,
Burnley,
maybe not.
Sunderland. You're like, okay, no disrespect to any of these teams, but actually, no. Forest would not have expected to go through these games and not have a win. And I think going into last night, you go, right, okay, this is a home European game that definitely should be won. They'd actually played really well in the first half in Betis last week in their first Europa game. This shouldn't be a problem. And you're seeing all the things that people saw at Tottenham last year, like inability to defend set pieces and inability to defend on transition. You only have to look at the goals is enough for you. And maybe they've gone, no, actually, we're a bit worried here. And you are, because maybe they're sitting there thinking what I've said. Oh shit, they might go another 4 or 5 games without winning, and then what?
Yeah.
I the odds on him being the next manager sat. So Harry Daniels shared this with me, our good buddy FPL Harry. Subscribe to his channel because he's short of a subscriber or two. He'd messaged me. We were discussing it on Wednesday that Ange was actually second in the betting for the next manager to be sacked
I'm assuming Amarim's
On
top.
Wednesday, which I didn't know when I said on Tuesday. I was thinking, bloody, that's unbelievable. Yeah, this morning, he's favourite.
Yeah, I feel for him a bit, but yeah, you can't be you. You've got to remember what Forest fans have come from and what they're used to with Nuno to go away to such a complete extent. Like
So
this is that you know they're going to be thinking if Nuno was in charge, this wouldn't have happened.
correct. And what you've got to remember here, really importantly, from the Forest fan perspective, is none of them would have sacked Nuno. They might
No.
have looked at it and gone, oh, okay, there's a breakdown in relationship. Okay, you might have to go different ways. But if that breakdown of relationship hadn't happened with Marinakis, no Forest fan would have sacked Nuno. So they feel like the guy that they wanted or had, who's done really well for them. Remember, he had to win them over as well. It's worth saying when Cooper went. Me and Mark Summers discussed that on the fan view, which I want to say was like only last week or or the week before. Might be doing another one with him soon. He's actually on Clash of Correspondence during the international break with Gary Mantle. He had to win them over. He has. They didn't want to get rid of him. And now, of course, they're all very protective of Marinakis, as we well know, Forest fans, and I understand the reason why. But they'll be looking at this firmly on this particular one and thinking he's made a massive mistake with Ange. And there's also, I think, a little bit of concern that they are, let's say they have a relationship. They had a relationship before. It's well known that there were meetings between the two people in the summer, right? So there's a Forest opinion at the moment from some, not all, that essentially Marinakis has appointed his mate.
Yeah, not all. All is not well. What about Palace? They did okay though at in midweek.
Oh
Comfortable
yeah,
win.
bless. I forgot about great for Palace in the Conference League. Brilliant result. I watched that game. That was the only game I watched last night. Yeah, very straightforward. Brilliant headed
Mm.
goal from Daniel Munoz to give them the lead. Bateta came off at half time. That was planned. That's good news as well, I think, for owners. And Ketcher took his goal really well and had a goal disallowed just before that as well. Minor point, I don't suppose anybody was picking Tyreek Mitchell as their Palace defender of choice at the moment, but Borna Sosa got sent off for 2 yellows. And so he'll be suspended for the next European game, which falls in between Palace's fixtures with Bournemouth and Arsenal. There is a chance, therefore, maybe that Sosa maybe plays, maybe Arsenal away, but I guess you weren't going to play Mitchell for that one anyway. So
Yeah, from what I can see on paper, I mean they restricted Kiev to less, basically a half an XG, only one shot on target, no big chances. Typical strong defensive Palace performance.
well done to them. Great for them.
Mm.
First, you want a little trivia question quick? This
Go
is a
on,
good
go
one
on.
for you.
First
So,
club to do what?
no, so yeah, this is a good trivia question.
Okay.
So Crystal Palace competed in Europe properly, not qualifiers or Intertoto or anything like that, for the first time properly, obviously last night. Brighton was obviously a couple of years before their first involvement in European competition. Who is the only other of the current Premier League clubs to play in European competition for the first time since the inauguration of the Premier League since 1992?
Current Premier League club.
So made their first appearance in Europe since 1992.
Newcastle?
No, don't be silly. Won the Fairs Cup in the 60s.
It's not going to be like City. Brighton.
No,
Who else? Not Villa, obviously. Not
no,
Spurs. Not West Ham.
no.
Who has been in Europe? Who has qualified? I couldn't tell you.
No, it's just Fulham under Roy Hodgson.
Okay, yeah. Oh, fair play.
When they reached the final.
They got final as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
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 Lovely,
On Ange.
Yes.
I think they'll get slapped on Sunday. I'm afraid to say, because I just think there's too many defensive issues, and a Newcastle team that's now in a good mood and picking the right attacking players. I think that's a recipe to go very, very bad. Even though they'll go there, it'll look pretty, they'll probably have a lot of the ball. Yeah, I've seen what happens up at St James's Park, and I genuinely think that might be it.
You asked me if I wanted to change my free hit earlier. I set my free hit
why are there
up.
no Newcastle players in there?
Well, I set it up thinking they've played European football midweek and what have you. I had this problem last year with Man City where it took me a while to actually accept that they had changed. And I think I have the same problem with Nottingham Forest. I have to accept actually that they're not very good. The sooner I can get Matt Sells out of my team, the better. In theory, yes, I think you're right. Plus, it's on Sunday. Newcastle will have the time to recover. I should be putting Anthony Gordon into my team over maybe Semenyo or something like that. Yeah.
Coming in, talk through this free hit draft then.
Yeah, I'll talk you through my free hit draft. So I've kind of taken the opinion of where do I think teams are going to have good results. So Arsenal, obviously, I think will do well against West Ham. Money is tight in my free hit draft because I've gone very big up top. We're talking Gyökeres, Haaland, Isak. So money for the rest of the squad is tight. So I've ended up going Timber over Saliba or Gabriel, save a bit of money. Declan Rice because he's taking corners, and I think Arsenal will do well from corners. So I've decided to go Timber and Rice to go alongside Gyökeres. It's quite punty, but I get that. Erling Haaland as captain. I think his ownership's going to be off the chart, so it's almost kind of like covering it off. Chelsea, defensive issues. We don't know who's going to be available at centre-back, so I think this is the time for Isak to make his mark as a Liverpool player, and I've gone Cody Gakpo alongside him as well. I think the two of them could potentially do well. Trying to go with as much of an all-in strategy as I can. Crystal Palace away at Everton. I mean, West Ham have played Palace and then Everton in our last two games. And from what I've seen, I think Palace will keep a clean sheet against Everton. I think they've got enough defensive solidity, and the stuff that we've just talked about from the European game fills me with even more confidence. I don't think Everton are going to score. So I've gone with Dean Henderson in goal and Ismail Assar. I think he's the second highest non-pen XG in the league behind Haaland or whatever the stat may be.
And the rest last night as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Ismail Assar is in for me. The Romero, I didn't know he had a knock, James. So, but I think you away at Leeds, I'm going to gamble.
Oh, if Thomas Frank gives him the all clear, there's no doubt he plays captain, and I imagine he probably will play.
I think you will keep a clean sheet. I think you've been too leaky, and Thomas Frank's going to want to shut up shop a little bit here and bit of a masterclass. I think Spurs are going to keep a clean sheet at Leeds, so I've gone with him. I think Brighton potentially are okay for a clean sheet as well. So I've gone with Lewis Dunk and then Semenyo. But let's say Semenyo should be Gordon, to be honest with you. I can afford to do that. The bench is bench fodder. Dubravka, Xhaka, Alderete and Rodon as cheap as can be. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Do you know Tottenham's record prior to international breaks?
No.
I don't think we've won a game before an international break for about 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's another good stat for you.
That might be a slight exaggeration, but it's definitely been a couple of years. We definitely didn't do it under Ange, I don't think.
Yeah, it's Thomas Frank in charge now, so you know.
Other than, in fact, I know when the last time was. I think it was when Sonny got a hat trick at Burnley, just just over 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure that was the last time, I think. Yeah, 12:30 kickoff away from home to a newly promoted team before an international break with a team that's looked shocking over the last week. Yeah, I think we'll be getting beat, mate. What's intriguing with my free hit draft is there's only three players the same. And I probably didn't have Ismail Assar as one of them on the bingo card because Everton away doesn't exactly scream. The only other two are probably fairly straightforward in terms of Haaland and Semenyo. So unbelievably, in a week where I think if you are free hitting, clearly you do go treble Arsenal, despite West Ham appointing Nuno. I've gone three different players to you, mate.
Mm.
I've gone Gabriel, Calafiori, and Saka. The reason for that being is, and I actually think probably other than Haaland, Gyökeres might even be the best shout for captaincy this week overall in the game. But when I looked at it, I felt like there were so many more forward options that I was happy to go with as alternatives this week rather than the midfield area. So it was kind of like it was a Saka for Fernandes, but then it became a real struggle to fit Gyökeres in as well. So Calafiori, I think, would be really safe for minutes. I've detailed, I think he could end up with he playing really advanced. He's still a threat from set plays. I do think Gabriel will play. The beauty of a free hit is if he obviously doesn't play, fine. That's what the bench is for. I've gone, along with Semenyo, I've put Senesi in. We know Rodrigo Muniz is ruled out for Fulham and Raul Jimenez is a doubt. So I think Bournemouth probably good things for that game tonight. I've put Coldalo in as my goalkeeper. It's 1-0 leads tomorrow, mate. I've gone two Newcastle attackers, Gordon and Voltemade, and along with Haaland up front, I've put Watkins in, home to Burnley. So I've gone Darlow, Senesi, Gabriel Calafiori, Saka, Sarr, Semenyo, Gordon, Voltemade, Haaland captain, Watkins on the bench, Dubravka, Konsa, Rodon, King. So Gabriel didn't show. Like Konsa, home to Burnley. It's a boring pick, but okay. There's not a lot of money available.
Jadon Anthony's going to score, I'm afraid. I get the double Arsenal defence against West Ham. I think for me, psychologically, if I did that, I'm saying West Ham are not going to score. And I don't feel comfortable doing that in any week. And Ollie Watkins, Burnley at home is fine. But I think Burnley are better defensive than they maybe get credit for because they've had a couple of slappings. But I think they'll do okay. So.
Well, I did some data. I'll share you one little statistic for you. And admittedly, they have had some tough fixtures. But on the What the Numbers Say piece I did on for Advanced and Intermediate Plus tier patrons yesterday, I had a look at some data for all the teams from the first 6 games. And there was one quite striking one from Burnley. Shots conceded, 114. Next highest is Brentford, 82.
Oh, that's quite a big jump. What's the XG? What's the XG on those? Is it a lot of low quality shots or
XGC conceded for Burnley this season is the worst, 12.3.
So that number of volume of shots does.
But there's some penalties in there, so their non-penalty XGC is 10.7. That's still the worst in the league. But I think we should say with Burnley, right? They've played Tottenham, Manchester United, Manchester City away, and Liverpool at home.
Yeah, some tough games.
So, and Ange Ball. They had to play Ange Ball as well. So, just the shot volume, I'd be a little bit concerned about that. They are obviously regularly playing this 5-4-1. I do think Watkins may struggle for space, actually, this weekend. But if I was on a free hit, I'd still be sticking him in.
Yep.
Right, wild card. What would be different for you then, boss?
Well, when you asked me to set up a wild card, are we taking a wild card? I suppose, was I taking a wild card from my current squad or just in general? But I suppose if you're wild carding, you change all 15, right? So I would triple up on Arsenal with their run coming up. So I already own Gabriel and Gyökeres. I'd add David Raya in goal to go alongside that. I think from a Bournemouth point of view, Semenyo, Senesi, just super reliable. So I'd definitely include them. Erling Haaland is a given. Ismail Assar is a given. I'll keep Bruno Fernandes for now. I think obviously Sunderland at home is an all right start point, and he gives me flexibility should I want to get up to a Saka. Well, I'd have to make 2 moves to get to a Saka, but Palmer becomes available or somebody a little bit more expensive. So I kept Bruno Fernandes in there. Double West Ham, Bowen and Diouf. For me, I've owned since game week 1. So if I was to sell those, I'd take a massive kick in the nuts on team value. But I think both of them are good to own for a little while. Elliot Anderson is in for me, James. Every time I see him on the eye test, I feel like there's a haul coming, which is DEFCONs and a goal and an assist and max bonus points and an 18 pointer or something. Maybe that will change with Ange Ball. Well, the only thing that will change there with Ange Ball is that he won't get the 1 point clean sheet that goes
I don't
alongside
think you
it.
could have any long-term view on Forest at the moment, genuinely.
No, but Elliot Anderson, he's a good player. He's taking set pieces. He's involved in everything, right? He will be involved in good stuff that Forest do at his
He
price.
didn't
So
take any, by the way, last weekend against Sunderland.
none.
Don't think so.
Okay.
Listen, I wouldn't be defined anyway. I'm picking a player on whether they're taking bloody
No,
corners or
no,
not.
exactly. I think and on the bench I've got Alderete and Xhaka from Sunderland as like your decent cheap options. Xhaka I'd take over Dewsbury Hall, who I have right now, and Alderete is decent at his value as well. Did I say Ismail Assar? I think that one's quite obvious. I think that's quite a well-balanced squad. That takes me through all the way to game week 13. I do take your point. There's no Newcastle in there, and
I like that more than your free hit team.
Yeah. I find free hits quite hard, because you're looking at such a short-term view on it, and in any given game week, we've looked at it statistically because we do the predictions on the differential show for patrons. You only get half the results right, or and not even half the scores right. So, do you stick by your convictions and double down on what you think is going to happen, knowing that you're 50% wrong before you've even started? Or do you hedge your bets and kind of cover it off a little bit and play a little bit safe with free hits? Whereas with wildcard, you've obviously you can take a longer term view, and over 5 or 6 weeks or 7 weeks, how long you set up for, those kind of things even themselves out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine, there's not too much to say. Senesi, Gabriel, I think Gibbons. Same with Semenyo. Haaland, kind of not a given. I did look at, I don't know, take the points and run and spread the money a bit better because I'm saying about wildcards around this period, I don't love them personally because I think you have to make too many sacrifices in certain places, and you'll see that with my team. I've got a Bowen as well, similar reasons for you. When he went in for me in game week 1, it was like he's going in game week 1 to 12. I know what he is, his consistency, like suck up the price drops. And as we've already said, I think some people will want to go and potentially chase him next. If he scores tomorrow, there'll be a surge for him, going into game week 8, I think. Dubravka is a cheap goalkeeper. So when I look at this team that I've put together, it don't look great. And what I've done with this, I've done the same as I did last week. This team can be bench boost in game week 8 or game week 9 with 2 Burnley on the bench, Dubravka, Estev, and Rodon and Stack. Set this to potentially bench boost 8 or 9 is the solution. Just on bench boost, again, a conversation I had with Sham. So Sham wants the wild card in game week 13. He's not set in a good position to bench boost. And it's like looking at trying to put transfers because say like he's got Goo and a few other bits that are like just isn't set for a bench boost. So looking at like manipulating, it's like we'd have to put too much value into making transfers now just for the sake of this poxy chip that we might get 10 points for or so, right? So what I looked at for Sham was game week 17. I just wanted to advise that for people. If anybody else is kind of really stuck in a quandary of like, I can't get rid of this chip and I'm going to wildcard in a few weeks, I wouldn't be focusing transfers towards bench boosting if you're in that scenario. I think 17 is your route. I think 17 is your route for a couple of reasons. One, it's the safest week in terms of rotation over Christmas period. So there's no midweek fixtures afterwards. And the midweek before is Carabao Cup. So anyone who ain't in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal has essentially got a week before and a week afterwards. You should get strongest teams. And there are a number of teams you could target from that wildcard 13 who fixtures I think are okay in 17 and who will have cheaper players. So Palace are at Leeds, Bournemouth are at home to Burnley, Brighton are at home to Sunderland, Brentford are away to Wolves. As a consequence that week, you've got a lot of players who have difficult games against each other. So like Tottenham playing Liverpool, Villa Man United, Newcastle playing Chelsea. But in most cases, you probably still wouldn't be. I mean, you're not going to bench Bruno Fernandes because he's got Villa away.
No,
I'm telling you not to have Tottenham players against Liverpool anyway. So the teams that you'll want to target from 13, you like the City, Liverpool, Newcastle, it's still at home, United away to Villa, Brentford, Bournemouth, Palace, Brighton, they're all in and amongst that. That look, I think it's okay for 17. So that would be a get out for people. Don't love that, but I think that's a get out option. So for myself, wildcard, treble
there's
Arsenal.
another advantage of 17 as well, James. If you wildcard in
Well,
13,
you've got 5 free transfers a week before. Yeah.
16, you
Yeah.
can fix any problems you've got
Correct.
just a week before. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so 13 to 17 feels too long, isn't it? But the
No,
game's going
not
to
with
throw you
five.
five
Not with
transfers in
a
16. So
mini wildcard free of charge in game week
you could
16.
you could
Yeah.
use a couple of transfers with that as well. And obviously at that point, players have definitively gone for AFCON if you've got some issues as well. So you could I know a few people thinking this: get Salah and Haaland in for 13, take Salah out 17, spread that money, part of it, bench boost, use the transfers for that. I wouldn't go using all those transfers for a bench boost, but it will get you out of injury problems
Yep.
if you want a bench boost that week. So for me, wildcard, treble Arsenal, Saliba, Gabriel, Saka. It's primarily them, not because I don't think Gyökeres would be a good option. I do, but I don't want to sell Bowen. I don't want to sell Haaland. Actually, as someone who's got João Pedro sitting there, I don't want to sell him either. So that stays. There's no way I'd cut Semenyo from my draft at the moment. Senesi feels like a given in terms
Hmm.
of timing at this moment. I wanted to keep a bit more Chelsea coverage moving forward. So I've left Robert Sanchez in as a goalkeeper that I did on the draft last week. So things like that look ugly, right? It's like you're wild carding into that double Chelsea home to Liverpool with injury issues and Bowen away to Arsenal. You're like, I don't feel great, but hopefully you feel the benefit of that later on. As part of that, to chase some more points this week, Gordon goes in. And the final player I put in is a player I think is well worth keeping an eye on.
Yep.
Decent fixture this week as well as Yankuba Minter for Brighton. They're away to Wolves this weekend. I think he's kind of nicely priced, sort of 5.9. I was really struggling for money here. If I could have gone up to Saar, I would have. But when I looked at alternatives like Diakite for Senesi and stuff like it just didn't really work. The easiest one was to cut the goalkeeper. But I wanted some extra Chelsea coverage. And defensively, it's a bit of a mess in terms of who's going to play the minutes. Chalobah's the safest one. But then I don't really deem Chalobah as someone who's not going to get DEFCONs as kind of really worth that money. It would be like a fixture play. So if I'm wildcarding now, I need to think about 25 odd weeks. I don't really want Chalobah. Like I'd be getting Chalobah for the next few and then being in it again in a
Yep.
few weeks, where Sanchez feels more like, okay, there's some Chelsea defensive coverage. It could just get left. Don't like it though.
Yeah, I see what you mean about not liking it. And obviously, I've got no Chelsea. I just don't have faith in Chelsea at the moment. Yeah, so I've avoided it in full.
Okay, cool. Thank you, boss. Good
No problem
standing.
at all.
Anyone who think you've done this before? If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. Our differential show is going to be out pretty much around about the same time as this for basic tier plus patrons and above. For advanced tier patrons, Team News stream is at 3:30 p.m. UK time today. And for those not sick of my face enough on YouTube, the deadline stream goes ahead tonight at 5:30 p.m. UK time. Anything else, Suj?
No, stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please. Man child.